Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. Welcome back to your online English class of the Bay International Public School and College Mansehra. This is your teacher Saida Kainat Fatma. Dear students, today we are starting a very interesting poem. The name of the poem is Mother to Son and it is written by Liguston Hughes. Today we shall discuss the historical background of the poem and we shall discuss the life of the poet and we shall analyze the poem. Dear student, this is the part first of your poem. This is the first video. Inshallah, we shall summarize the poem and we shall see its theme in our next video. In our part second. So before starting the poem, let's see the life of the poet. So the poet Liguston Hughes, James Liguston Hughes, was born on February 1st, 1903 in Joplin. His parents divorced when he was only a child and his father moved to Mexico. His grandmother raised him until he was 12 years old. He graduated from high school in 1920 and he moved to Mexico City to live with his father for a year. He moved to Mexico City inspired him to gather new insights about the race, class and ethnicity. He returned to United States when he ran out of money. So dear students, the poem Mother to Son. First of all, we shall discuss the historical background of the poem. So, the poem Mother to Son was first published in 1922 in the Crisis. Crisis was the name of a magazine. It was a magazine dedicated to promoting civil rights in United States. The poem described the difficulties that black people face in a racist society, but poem says that black people can overcome these difficulties through patience, resilience and mutual support. So now we shall see that what is the structure of the poem. Dear student, the poem is in dramatic monologue. It is written in dramatic monologue and it has free verse. So first of all, we shall discuss that what is the meaning of dramatic monologue. Dear students, dramatic monologue is another figure of speech. A dramatic monologue is a figure of speech when a speaker addresses a silent or absent listener during a movement of high intensity or deep emotion. I am telling you in simple words. A poem in which an imagined speaker addresses a silent listener. A poem in which an imagined speaker addresses a silent listener, usually not the reader. We can also say that in dramatic monologue is a poem in which a single speaker who is not the poet utters the entire poem at a critical moment. The speaker has a listener within the poem, but we too are his or her listeners, and we learn about the speaker character from what the speaker says. In fact, the speaker may reveal unintentionally certain aspect of his or her character. So, in this poem, the poet also used dramatic monologue in which a mother is talking to her son. In this poem, a single character is the mother who is verbally talking to her son and represent her thoughts. Besides, it is a free verse poem. So what is meant by a free verse poem? This poem does not have any rhyme or rhythmic pattern. It also uses metaphors in the poem. For example, splinters, no carpet, etc. All these are metaphors through which the poet describes the difficulties which a man faces throughout his life. So this was the structure of the poem. So dear students, now let's start the poem. Well, son, I tell you, life for me ain't be no crystal stair. It had tacks in it, and splinters, and boards torn up, and places with no carpet on the floor bare. First of all, I will tell you the meanings used in the line, the difficult meanings of the verse. Mother to son. It is a message from a mother to her son. Life for me ain't be no crystal stair. It means that life has not been beautiful, transparent, or easy for mother. It has been it has not been an easy climb. It's had tacks in it. It means and splinters. It means tacks and sprinkles are hazards that can cause the pain, just like hazards in life. So the tacks and splinters in this verse, it means hazards of life or difficulties of life. And boards torn up. The torn up boards represent the damage, obstacles, and hardship in life. And places with no carpet on the floor. Bare. This creates the image of being cold, naked, and isolated. It creates the mood of loneliness. So, dear student, that was the meaning of difficult words in the poem. Now let's see that what is the meaning of first stanza. The poem starts with discussion of a mother to her son. She tells her son that her life was not crystal clear. Here the word crystal clear symbolizes the beauty and smoothness. So she is telling that her journey was never been smooth and easy. Her journey was not so much beautiful. So now she is telling all his difficulties, her difficulties to her son. And splinters and boards torn up, and places with no carpets on the floor bare. Now, dear students, I will explain the verse 3 to 7. In these lines, the poet uses the phrases like torn up, tackles, etc. All these words express the difficulties of life. After that, her mother her mother tell that some of the life that after that her mother tell her son that the life she faces is the life of hardship. So in this stanza she tells us that life of a poor miserable American African in 1920. But all the time I have been a climb on and reaching laddens and turning corners and sometimes going in the dark. but all the time. Now, dear students, I will tell you the meanings of difficult words in next lines. But all the time. It has been a climbing on. These two lines push the idea of consistency and endurance in life. And Richen Laddens. This line means this represent achieving goals in life. The landing is the point of triumph. And turning corners mean trying new things. And something going in the dark. It means going in the dark can represent courage and faith. Where there aren't be no light. No light represent unexplored and foreign territory. So boy, don't you turn back. It means that don't run away from life. Don't you sit down on steps. It means that you don't give up. So here, the word bare refers poor living conditions. Mother is telling her son that in spite of all these difficulties, she tried to go upstairs. So the word in this stanza, like turning corners, going in the dark, all these words describe the fears and doubts which came in her life. So she tells her son that she never loses hope, she never loses courage in spite of all these fears, in spite of all these difficulties. She never loses courage. Now, in these lines, she wants to give him courage. Where there aren't be no light. So, boy, don't you turn back, don't you sit down on the step, cause you find it's kinder hard, don't you fall now, for it has still going, honey, it has still climbing, and life for me ain't be no crystal stair. Cause you find it's kinder hard. She want to say that it is hard. Don't you fall now. You don't have to get weak. You don't have to discourage. For I have for it has still going, honey. It has still climbing. She is showing her son that it can be done and she is example. And life for me ain't be no crystal stair. It wasn't easy for the mother either. Now in these lines, mother wants to tell his son that that she also go higher, that his son also go higher and higher like her mother. In this stanza, her mother is telling her son that he don't have to discourage in the face of hardship. Even he fall from stair, because life have so many difficulties. Life has the difficulties. He has to face the difficulties. He would have to stand again and start his journey. He has to try again and again. At last she gives example of her life to her son. According to her, she is still on the process of going high on the stairs of the life. So dear student, it was our today's lecture. I hope that you understand it very well. Inshallah, we shall meet in our next video. Allah Hafiz.